to my YouTube channel, The Lottie Lady. I said I would do a 1 week on video. I've had the plot just over a week now because there's been a slight delay. It was a bit too windy to film yesterday. But yeah, I'll turn around and give you a view of what I've been doing over the last few days, and then I'm going to do 1 week on really what I've learned and what advice I give any other newbie allotment holder who's getting an allotment or is on the list to get an allotment. Okay, let me turn this around. So this is what my plot looks like. It's about 10 days since I've had it. So I have 4 pallet collars, which I'm now on raised beds, which has onions and garlic in the end, and I haven't planted anything yet. Well, one hasn't got any compost in the end, one haven't decided what I'm going to plant there. I've built an arch. The shed, if I can go back, so that's looking quite like the colour. Put some flags up and I made my own little sign. Yeah, I have one bed that we've dug over because we're going to sort of trial the no dig versus, you know, the effort of digging patches, and also to cut down on costs and to see if the no dig and the expensive compost is really worth it for next year. I've tidied up and cleaned up this verge, moved that compost bin, so I need to sort through that, and here just put up a little barrier fence because in here I've planted some daffodils and spring bulbs, so that's what I've done so far. Yeah, actually just before I go, I have also sorted out the inside of the shed for now, so put in a rug, I've got a bench with 2 cushions. I had at home one of these little tables that you sort of eat your dinner on, and I put some sticky back plastic on the top, which I think I'm quite pleased with because it's a nice size. Don't know what I'm doing with that wall, but I've just put some wallpaper samples and painted this side white for now, and tried to fix some of the rods and just a few little trinkets really. Hi, so yeah, I just want to think about my first week on the allotment in the hope that it might inspire or help any other new allotment holders. So what have I learned? So I think what I've learned is that each day that you come to the allotment, and I've been down really most days, you need to have a game plan. So you need to decide before you come what it is you want to achieve and be realistic with that. I spent the first few days just thinking, oh, I'll paint the shed, oh, I'll dig that patch, oh, I'll put some tarpaulin down, oh, I'll go and trim that bush. And the problem is when you're flitting from job to job, you get very little done that way. So I think just have 1 or 2 small tasks, and that way you can actually see them through to the end, and I think probably give you a sense of achievement. For example, my task today was just to rake the verge, dig out an area and plant some daffodil bulbs, which I've done, so that's great. My second piece of advice would be regarding other allotment holders. What I would say is, I'm really lucky here, everybody's been lovely. I do have the benefit and in some ways the curse of having the very first plot at the top of a bit of a slope where the entrance to the allotment is. I mean, it's great because I've had, you know, everybody says hello to you, everybody wants to know what you're doing, everybody's been really enthusiastic and very impressed with how much I've achieved this week. However, I've noticed that it does hamper how much I can do. And also you do get quite conflicting information about what you should be doing, how you should be doing it. So I guess my advice really is to make friends with your fellow plot holders, be polite, but just stick with what you think you know and what ideas you have. I mean, it's okay to ask advice if you want the advice, but I think, you know, take it with a pinch of salt. And similarly, what you will get to know, what I've got to know in just this first week, is when the busy periods of it are on the allotment and when it's a bit quieter. Like for me here, if I come after dropping the boys off in the morning, there's literally nobody here till for at least the first hour and a half. So I would say, yeah, that, I mean, depending if you want to be alone or not, but for me, that is my most productive time, because I'm not bothered by anyone, there's no one to talk to, there's no distractions, and I can just get on with the task at hand. So that's great knowledge, I think. What other advice do I have? My other advice is, for me, think about what is important to you. So for me, having taken the plot on at the very end of October, I know that I was in a race against the frost and the winter, which I've already seen a first frost this week. So for me, I prioritised getting, I'm very lucky, I have 2 sheds on this plot which I inherited, which were both repairable, although somewhat rotten in places. So I prioritised getting one of those sheds relatively nice so that I could have somewhere to have a hot drink. You can have a retro flask if you want, but yeah, have a hot drink, take in the environment, and just have a well-deserved rest, really. So I know if I made that quite nice and appealing, I'd be more inclined to want to come here, because with all the best will in the world, there's not a lot in winter to attract you, you know, especially if you take on a plot like mine that's very, very overgrown. I think you can sort of be put off by the fact that you're just coming to, in some ways, a derelict piece of land. So now I have this lovely shed, which, you know, took probably a day to sort out. Then that's real encouragement for me. Secondly, think about what you want to prioritise your time. So I knew that I wanted to try and get something in the ground. It wasn't the best time of year, but I managed to plant some onions, some garlic. So not only will that free up some time for me come springtime, because it's 2 things I don't have to worry about planting when there'll be plenty more to do, but also just knowing I have something in the ground and perhaps seeing some growth there will spur me on, I think. And similarly, I've hurried to try and get a patch of spring bulbs planted, as I think, you know, after dreary winter and those first few months of the year can be really difficult after Christmas and New Year. If I do lose momentum, I think once you know, seeing the tulips and daffodils and crocuses, I guess, seeing them pop up to greet me as I come down the plot. I've planted them right by the sort of the path that I walked down to get here, that is on my plot. Then seeing those, I think, will really spur me on, and also remind me that it's springtime and all that growth and all that productivity is literally just around the corner. So yeah, I mean, I've hurried to do that, and the rest of the things can wait. I'm going to cover over half of my plot and work on half, and if I'm slightly more productive than I anticipate, then I will pull some of the weed membrane back and dig. But if I'm not, then that's fine as well, no pressure. Which is my very final tip, which is just be careful that you don't overexert yourself. There was one day, I think yesterday, when I didn't come to the plot. 1, it was windy, but 2, I just felt like I didn't feel as enthusiastic about it, and I thought I've probably overdone it this week, coming virtually every day. So I think it's more important to pace yourself. Definitely with my plot being so overgrown, not being used for about 2 years, it's definitely more of a marathon than a sprint for me. And yeah, so I think pacing yourself is important, and that's something that I would definitely recommend you do. I think, as I mentioned earlier, just setting yourself 1 or 2 small tasks that are manageable each day, I think, is a good way of doing that, and actually is more productive than coming down every day and just flitting about. So yeah, that's my advice for the very first week of my allotment. I mean, please comment if you have anything to say about that, or any advice you can give me. You know, I'm not, as I always say, I'm not an expert, I'm a novice too. So I'm always open to a bit of advice. And similarly, if you've got any questions that I've not really covered, then please also comment, and I will be happy to respond. And that's me on my plot here in Nottingham, and yeah, 10 days in, and I shall update you when there is further progress, which will probably be later on in the week. Thank you for watching, and see you later. Bye.